The Red Sox first series plus one game is officially in the books. Not the way we probably wanted it to go, but this is why we don't panic in a 162 game season. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Red Sox podcast on this lovely Tuesday. I am your host, NESN's Lauren Campbell. And Massachusetts Pirates team insider Jake Ignaszewski, he's back. He's back from North Dakota, a little banged up, but don't worry, he's here. He's super excited to talk everything Red Sox from the Yankee series, from the Tigers series, and everything in between, from the bullpen to the offense. We have a lot to get to, so let's just jump right into it.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. The Red Sox did end up salvaging a win over the Yankees on Sunday night, but not really the case against the Detroit Tigers on Monday in their opening game in the series there. But overall, against the Yankees, I feel like the Red Sox played well. It's really just the offense that has struggled. And Jake, I know you were away for most of the series, or all of the Yankee series, really, but the Red Sox had a 2-0 lead in every single game, gave it up in every single game, and they were able to win on Sunday. Bobby Dahlbeck hit the go-ahead home run, but overall, we were very adamant that this bullpen and the pitching was going to be an issue, and it's been the offense. On Friday, they were 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. On Saturday, 0 for 10. Sunday, 1 for 4. They've left a lot of men on base. I think it's 21 men on base in the series against the Yankees, but I mean, I thought we were going to be talking about the bullpen and the pitching and just how awful it is, but it's the offense that just can't seem to wake up right now, and it's the same thing that we saw in the postseason in 2021.
Yeah, it's honestly been tough to watch, and I'm so excited to be back behind this microphone. First time I'm talking about the Sox in the 2022 season where they're actually playing meaningful games. So, as you mentioned, was just in North Dakota. Actually had a situation where I sort of was welcomed nicely to arena football, got a player flipped over the boards and I got hit in the face, but luckily all good and dandy. But it's been really interesting to see how this Red Sox team is all really molded together in the first 4 games of the 2022 regular season. As you mentioned, the bullpen hasn't really been the issue too much. We saw Diekman have some issues on opening day, loading the bases, and then Cutter Crawford gets thrown into there. But then we see Cutter Crawford yesterday really come up big, or 2 days ago, excuse me, and really show what he has. And it's been really sort of tough to figure out which guys to trust, honestly. We've gotten to see some of Matt Strahm. We just got to see Matt Barnes for the first time of the season in yesterday's game. Austin Davis has played well, and you and I's favorite Ryan Brazier has still had some of his issues that we've seen him have. But I honestly didn't think that we'd be talking about the offense being the issue, like you mentioned.
It's just silly to me because we talked about how deep this lineup is 1 through 6. And yes, they don't have Trevor Story right now. He does have the flu, but thankfully he's COVID negative, so he doesn't have to isolate or anything. But it's still not ideal to lose somebody who just signed in the offseason for offense and for that second base position to be sidelined right now. But hopefully he recovers and makes he's a full recovery. He's hydrating and he's just keeping focus on his health right now. But during that Yankees series, the bullpen faced 52 batters in the first 3 games and gave up just 9 hits and 1 earned run. Not too bad. Going into Tuesday's game, they ranked first in the American League with an ERA of 0.69. That's not too shabby, if I do say so myself. 9 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks, and 15 strikeouts. Very impressive, but relying on your relievers for 13 plus outs per game is in no way sustainable, especially when you have guys in your bullpen who you don't really know the trust factor there. You don't know who you can trust, who you can't trust. And you want your starters to go at least 5. You want to get 6 out of them. And yes, a shortened spring training. It's the first few games of the season. You don't want to have your pitchers throwing 100 plus pitches, going 7 plus innings if they don't need to. But impressive showing from the bullpen in the first few games, but like I said, it's just not a sustainable way to play the game.
I mean, if I was living under a rock over the last 4 days, and you told me that statistic, like I wouldn't believe it for a second. I don't think anybody really expected this bullpen to be as efficient. I almost said dominant. They haven't really been too dominant, but as efficient as we've seen them. But it's only 4 games. But as you mentioned, even in yesterday's loss to the Tigers, I mean, the Sox put out, what was it, 6 different pitchers, including the starter Michael Wacha, who was only able to go 4 1/3. They had Strahm, Barnes, Davis, Brazier, and then Velasquez. And you're just not going to be able to do that sustainably when you also look at the Red Sox not having an off day until April 14th. And I find it really interesting because all throughout spring training, we were talking about how it was going to be tough for the pitchers to be able to stay sustainable and, be able to build themselves up after having a short spring. And, it's really sort of the opposite storyline that we really thought going into the season. And, the hitters are the ones who are having a tough time being able to acclimate with that shorter spring training.
And it's funny because Kike Hernandez has not been doing well in that leadoff spot. And again, I'm not going to put too much into this. It's the first 4 games. There's 156, 58 games left. But going into Tuesday's game, I think it was going into Tuesday's game, he was 0 for 15. And that's just not what you like to see, obviously, from your leadoff hitter and from somebody who did come up big so much last year. It's going to work out. They're going to come together at some point. We know this. We've seen this so many times. The Red Sox are swept by the Orioles in 2021 to begin the season. There's not a whole lot of worry here, but it's just funny to me where I'm like, we're sitting here talking about the offense and they're supposed to be
Ridiculous.
stacked. It's silly. It's just silly. Like I'm looking at these numbers like Friday, 7 men left on base, Saturday, 8 left on base, Sunday, 6 left on base. Like you need to take advantage of these opportunities. The AL East is incredibly stacked. We've known this going into this. We've known this for years. It's always the AL East. You need the offense to click because you're not going to win games 1-0. Hell, you're not going to win games 3-0 because we've seen that every time they have a lead 2-0, 3-0, the opponent comes back. And you need it. I know it's early, but you still need all the wins you can get in a division that's as tough as the AL East.
Couldn't agree more. And it's really seemed like we've seen guys, just swinging at bad pitchers. Xander Bogaerts, one of the most picky hitters that we see in this Red Sox lineup. I saw a lot of pitches over the last 4 games. He's swinging at a lot of pitches that are really inside out of the zone. And it's unlike him. And other than Rafael Devers and JD Martinez, they seem like they're the only guys who are actually hitting the baseball efficiently for this team right now. And you can't really rely on only 2 guys to be able to lead the pack. And we even sort of saw it in yesterday's game against the Tigers. I mean, there was only once or twice where they had a guy on second base. And nothing against the starting pitcher for the Tigers because he's a top prospect for them, and Matt Manning. But I mean, he's in his second year. Like that's ridiculous to me. And this is supposed to be a top 5 offense in the league. And I get everybody's getting acclimated, but it's tough as a fan to feel confident, especially when you don't fully feel confident in your bullpen. Forgetting about whatever statistics have been over the last 4 games, that's not going to be able to sustain itself over 162.
No, it's not. And we've talked about this in a lot of episodes that they need the help in the bullpen. They need the help in the starting rotation. You have Rich Hill going on Tuesday afternoon. You have him making his 2022 debut. And I love Rich Hill. He's been around forever, but it just makes you nervous because you need wins, and you need wins against teams you should be beating. I mean, it's just, I hope he does well, and I hope he kind of maybe mirrors what Wacha did, minus the first inning when he just got into a boatload of trouble loading the bases, only allowing 1 run in that inning, which was a miracle. But it's clear as day that yes, this pitching needs help, but it's also clear as day that this offense just needs to start clicking, and it needs to start clicking sooner rather than later because your bullpen is doing everything it can for the most part to help you win.
You and I are both rooting for Rich Hill to have a great game tomorrow. And, I hope we see the Rich Hill that we saw in spring training where, he pitched 5 innings, not allowing a run. I think he had like 5 or 6 strikeouts. And, he doesn't have that game where he had against the Tampa Bay Rays where he allowed 6 runs. I believe it was in like 3 innings or something like that. And, as you mentioned with Waka, with both Hill and Waka, they're not the big splashes. So like in our minds as Red Sox fans, it's easy for us to sort of pick on them. And if they don't really, show what we want them to show on the mound, or sort of what we saw in Walker's first inning. I mean, you saw on Red Sox Twitter, even myself, I was getting really nervous. I mean, his control was out of control, and he just wasn't able to throw strikes. And then ultimately, obviously, he only allowed 2 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks over 3 walks in 4 innings. But very impressive start for him. Hopefully he can keep that up and, maybe not have as shaky of a first inning. But, you can't really fault the guy with that being his first start of the season. But the one thing that I am curious to see is how long Rich Hill goes. Will he go 4, 5, 6? I see him going 4 or 5, and then who are you going to put in after? Because that's the one thing that like I'm thinking about with especially them having 5 pitchers out of the bullpen today. You got to save some of these guys.
You do, but maybe you can go to betonline.net and see if they have any odds for Rich Hill's outings, maybe who comes in and saves the day, another Jake Diekman. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for all of your betting sports stats and info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and so much more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and all of the action. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. So in our second segment of Locked On Red Sox, we're going to kind of get away from the offense, but kind of stay on the offense, because the Red Sox on Monday were linked to Michael Conforto, and he's been surprisingly not signed yet. I mean, he had his shoulder surgery, not surgery. He had a shoulder injury in January, and he was reportedly interested. The Red Sox were reportedly interested in Conforto. The Cubs and White Sox insider Mike Rodriguez reported this on Monday morning, and his agent is Scott Boras. So I think that's all you need to know about his agent right there. But he certainly would be an offensive upgrade over JBJ. He is a left-handed outfielder, so you have that left-handed bat, which there's a lot of lefties already in that Red Sox lineup. But like I said, would be an upgrade over JBJ. The Red Sox potentially could lose a draft pick if he were to sign with Boston due to the CBT rules. But it's funny because Conforto would be a good fit for the Red Sox. And he would make JBJ that 4th outfielder, which I was convinced he would be when he was traded back to Boston. Conforto essentially would be a good fit. But do the Red Sox need somebody to kind of maybe be on a prove-it deal, which I think, Jake, you tweeted about, maybe the Red Sox should bring him in just on a prove-it deal and kind of see how he works out in the outfield. Anyone but Christian Arroyo, honestly, should be in the outfield. So Conforto, like I said, good fit, but is there a fit there?
I think so. I mean, when you're really looking at it, he's the perfect example of a prove-it deal, coming off of a down season of batting .232 with 14 home runs. It's just not what we saw from him, back in 2019, 2020. When we saw this sort of Mets top prospect starting to really blossom into a really good big leaguer. And, I think, it's interesting looking at the qualifying offer. He got offered $18 million to sign back with the Mets on that qualifying offer. And, now he might be looking at a lower contract. And, I would be okay if the Red Sox went out and paid him 13 to 15 million. I think that's fair. And I think if it was a 1 year, 13 million, maybe Chaim Bloom will work his magic with a little bit of a club option or something like that, sort of what he did with James Paxton. And I think that he would be a perfect fit for that 4th outfielder. I found it interesting when I brought it up on Twitter because, there was people who were saying, well, then you're going to have to DFA JBJ. Then you're going to have to DFA, Alex Verdugo. And I'm just thinking to myself, what are you talking about? Why is Travis Shaw and Jonathan Arauz on this team?
Hey, be nice to Jonathan Arauz.
But the thing is with Arauz, like, if you think about it, like, obviously you can send Shaw down, and the thing is that you can save money on his $1.5 million contract. But the thing with Arauz is you have a perfect replacement in Christian Arroyo, who can play that infielder utility role that he plays, and you're able to fill in that fourth outfielder and not really have to hold your breath with Arroyo and JD out there. And you're also able to upgrade your defense a little bit. As we talked about with the Red Sox Yankees crossover, Conforto's a good defender. Obviously it's going to be interesting how he's able to play that right field. But, I mean, we saw what JBJ did today, and I understand, he dove for that play from Miguel Cabrera, like thinking that he can make that play. But, if you're going to be hitting sub 200, you got to play that defense that we're used to. I understand it's only one play, but still, like, if you're able to get a good impact bat like Michael Conforto and you're able to platoon him with JBJ, the Red Sox have the money. And if you're trying to make it to the playoffs, if you're trying to get, further than you were last year into the World Series, not only do you need Michael Conforto, you need some more bullpen arms, but I think Michael Conforto is a good start.
And I think, too, you bring up Travis Shaw and Jonathan Arauz. After, May 1st, when the rosters stop being expanded, those two are probably going to go back to Worcester unless they do something amazing in the next 2-3 weeks. We're already midway through April, but they do have the expanded roster right now, which is good because Trevor Story is sick, so you need Jonathan Arauz to fill in at second, and he's a fine second fill in at second base. But you have Christian Arroyo who could play second, and you're choosing not to put him there, which I don't know if I want to say it speaks volumes, but he certainly does not belong in the outfield. And I admire that he wants to try and he wants to learn more and make himself more versatile to the team. Love that in him. And I love that characteristic, and I love that energy from him. It's just not working in the outfield. And I don't know, there's not really a lot of room for error here for the Red Sox. And I do think Michael Conforto, like I said, would be a good fit. He does present an offensive upgrade over JBJ. He is a good defender, and he's not too far removed from his good seasons. It's just, you think of the money that he'll probably command, even though it's lower than his qualifying offer. And even though the bullpen's doing well right now, we did see this in the first half of 2021. I almost would want that money to go maybe to a reliable setup guy. Even though Matt Barnes looked good, it was only one inning in a 1-1 game. It's still encouraging, but I don't know if I can trust Jake Diekman, who looked strong against the Yankees, who's able to strike out Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. I don't know if I can depend on him. I want the Red Sox to really focus on trying to get a reliable setup guy right now.
Yeah, as I've talked about multiple times, I'm not a big fan of the closer, the committee. I just
Yeah.
don't like that stuff. And really looking at when the rosters do shrink a little bit more, we could also see Phillips Valdez go back down to Worcester. Who knows, as much great stuff that we've seen of Cutter Crawford. They might think that he needs some more time. He does have some options. We could also see Ryan Brazier get DFA'd. Sawamura, who knows? There's a lot of different options and ways that they could make this thing happen. I think it's the one thing that I thought was interesting is that the Guardians are the only team that are interested other than the Red Sox. And, they're a money pinching sort of organization at the moment. And so, if you're picking between the Red Sox or the Guardians to pay a guy 10 to 13, maybe $15 million, picking the Red Sox over everybody. But I wanted to get sort of your reaction to this. Something we haven't talked about is the Garrett Whitlock extension. When I first saw that the morning it was reported, Chaim Bloom just doing Chaim Bloom things, finds a diamond in the rough, then he signs him to an extension to really good money too. Only $18 million guaranteed until the club options 2027, 2028. But what was your reaction when you first saw this?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very smart move. I love that they have the option to control him through 2028, at least through 2026. So he's 25 right now. You're going to get a lot of good out of him. I think he's very motivated, whether that's you're going to use him as a starter or a long reliever or whatever role, he's going to embrace it. I think he's just very excited to get the opportunity. It's also really nice and a little kind of punch to the gut, maybe to the Yankees, where they're like, oh, they left this guy unprotected. There's that whole thing, which just makes it more fun. They do the press conference at Yankee Stadium, and that was just fun. And I love Whitlock because he's so just like your average dude. He's just so just like chill. Every picture I have that I have to use for articles, he's in like the throwing position, but it's the same picture, just in different uniform every time. And he said that he loves having beers ready for the guys and afterwards, or he's just a very cool person to be around. So I think it was very smart for both Whitlock and the Red Sox to just lock up somebody who, if he continues the path he's on, will command a lot of money down the road. But they have him, like I said, locked up potentially through the 2028 season, which is crazy to think about now because it's only 2022. But he could do a lot of good things right now. And after the end of the 2028 season, he'll be what, 30, 31? He could still have a lot of life left in him if he continues on the path as a reliever. So he can maybe even command another big payday down the road. So just very smart for both sides. I'm super happy. I love Whitlock. I think that, I want him to be the closer for this team. Maybe not a 3-inning closer, but I would like him to be the closer for this team at some point. I love the move. I think it's, like I said, very, very smart by Chaim Bloom, and just good for the Red Sox because you don't have a lot of people in that bullpen you can trust. But Whitlock is one of those people, and you need to make sure that he's going to be around for a little while.
Well, I mean, like during opening day, when he went out for that third inning, I was like, wow, they're putting him out for another one. And
Yeah.
it's starting to show that they're trying to stretch him out a little bit more, with the multi-inning sort of reliever. But I completely agree. I mean, he's somebody who people forget, he when he was, picked up by the Red Sox, I believe he was 26, 27. So he's a little bit older and he looks like a young 23, 24-year-old. But, he's a guy who shows on the mound that he can pitch like a veteran. And I'm really curious to see how the Red Sox continue to use him, throughout these years. And I'm just super hyped that now we either have a reliable bullpen arm, closer, starter, however they want to use him. I trust Whitlock out of anybody in this bullpen.
Don't make him any older than he is. He's only 25. Don't add years to him. Like, geez, calm down. Like, I know that we're excited for him to be here, but he's only 25. But yeah, I think too what is interesting about him is the Tommy John surgery. It's always interesting to see how players bounce back from that. You see Nate Eovaldi. He's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. He's had several elbow issues and elbow surgeries and injuries, and he's done really well as a starter. And he's always been a starter, but he's done really well as a starter. And you wonder if kind of Garrett Whitlock maybe is on that path, or maybe he's just going to be this elite closer. I want him to be the closer. Please, Alex Cora, if you're listening, shave the beard because it's a curse for the Red Sox, and then make Garrett Whitlock your closer. I beg. I don't think I'm asking for much here.
Yeah, we just need somebody reliable at the closer position. I'm done with seeing on Twitter who's coming out for the ninth, and especially if we're gonna get these one run nail biter sort of games back to back. I want to have some confidence in that. The Sox are going to be able to seal it. I'm not almost biting off all my fingernails during the ninth inning. But I just want to take a second to talk to everybody about Rock Auto. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-changing, increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local car chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. So why endure often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And why wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. So save time using Rock Auto. And Rock Auto is also a great place to check out because it's a family business serving do-it-yourself for over 20 years. And their prices are also reliably low for every single customer. And they have everything you need, like brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet as well. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. So
go ahead.
I was just gonna say we can sort of end it just on a positive note. Even though the Sox are on 1-3, as you mentioned, there's so many more games, so many more opportunities for them to show what this team really is all about. And, the biggest thing that I'm really curious to see is, how when they start to get on that winning streak, how is this team chemistry all going to come together? What is going to be the next? They obviously have the home run celebration card. What's going to be that next thing to really, bring the energy, bring the chemistry all together?
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. And I think maybe if they lose Tuesday, I feel like Wednesday is a really good game because they're going to be playing against Erod. Who knows this team better than Erod? It's the Red Sox. And I think that they know what he's about. They know what kind of pitches he can bring. Hopefully they can, he's not on the Red Sox anymore. So I can say this. Hopefully they just light him up. And this, like, they're able to take a hefty lead. None of this 2-0, 3-0 business because it's just not enough. But yeah, there's still plenty of baseball left to be played. It's never fun when your team starts slow. It's never fun when the offense just isn't clicking when you have a very solid lineup. But, Alex Verdugo is playing very well. Kike Hernandez will figure it out. Rafael Devers is hitting home runs. He's getting on base. JD Martinez finally had a home run, almost had the game tying home run on Monday, but just missed a little bit. You have these players just figuring it out. And yes, you could say shorten spring training all you want, but some teams just start slow. And it's okay. This is why we play 162 games. There's no reason to sit here and be really angry. Listen, if it's like May 15th, May 20th, and the Red Sox are still in this conundrum that we're in right now on April 11th or April 12th, okay, then we can start panicking and we can start being a little more mad. But right now, just chill because it's going to be okay at some point. They're going to figure it out. I hope so. Anyway, then I'll just look silly.
Yeah, we just got to keep the faith, keep doing everything we can. It's never too early to bring back the Reese's cups, the Rally cups. No, I'm just playing. But we just need to have that energy back as Red Sox Nation, that belief in our team. And I think once we start to see everybody clicking, especially when Story gets hot, once we start to get some of those walk-offs happen, we start to see the energy, the swagger, that we saw of last year's Red Sox team. I feel like, obviously since we're just starting off, everything seems a little bit serious. It just doesn't seem like that team last year as like high energy, swagger as they were last year. So I'm just excited for them to get back to that place.
And plus, they haven't even played at home yet. Sometimes you just need to come home, be in front of your own fans. They're going to sell out Fenway. The energy is just going to be amazing at Fenway. It always is, especially on the home opener. So sometimes you just need to come home, get your ish together, and then go on some sort of run. Listen, we have until September. So we still have a long way to go. Stop being angry unless it's May 30th, like it's May 20th, whatever the date I put. And then if they're still struggling, then we can panic. But let's pump the brakes a little bit because it's April 12th. There's no need to worry right now. But I think that's a good place to end the show. Jake's first show in a couple of days on the Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to Locked On Red Sox right here on YouTube. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast is where you can find us. Be sure to check out all the other Locked On shows across the network. Locked On Yankees, Locked On A's, Locked On Orioles. They're crushing it, even though the Orioles, kind of like the Red Sox, are not crushing it, but they're doing a great job over there. And be sure to follow Locked On Red Sox on Twitter at LO_Red Sox, Jake at Jake Iggy, and myself at Lauren, 3 laws, Lauren with 4 R's. And now that you've made Locked On Red Sox your first listen, head on over to Locked On MLB to make it your second listen. Paul Francis Sullivan, but please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on baseball players, both past and present. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to check back later this week, Monday through Friday. We will be providing you episodes after the games, reactions after the games. Baseball is back, and so are we. We'll see you later this week. Let's go, Red Sox.